Well, we're joined now by Oma Djeba, who's a journalist and former information commissioner and is now a senior advisor to the PDP governor of Delta State. Oma, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
As we heard in that report, there's been another bombing, more people killed. Do you think March the 28th really is a realistic date for this election?
First of all, I want to really say that much of this report is to look at the role the media should actually play in shaping the elections and shaping the post-election period. I think that if we begin to look towards the path of peace and development journalism, as propounded by great scholars like Gatong, Rone Ottoson, and Roland Stanbridge, it will help us a great deal, because when we escalate the tension through the media, it helps to boil up a lot of tension. So, and that itself, with the emergence of a globalized society, you know, when news break elsewhere, it's all over, it's peace all over the world. So I think the media should embrace the concept of peace reporting, peace journalism, so as to downplay the role of tension and escalation. Because much of all these things, yes, it do happen, but I think that the president has openly said he's committed to the elections and is committed to that date. He has said so publicly. So I think the media should help.
You would know as a journalist, though, that what is news is stuff that unfortunately often isn't nice and it is bad and horrible. And but just saying everything's fine isn't really news. So how do the media report in a peaceful way without covering big explosions? Surely that's what people need to know about. Is, you know, it's unfortunate that it's happened, but surely that is what people should be informed about.
Yeah. No, in fact, what you have just raised is very, very topical, and I really think this is a major issue that should form a subject of public discourse. I have raised it with a couple of my colleagues, those in the public sector and those in the private sector, that look, there is need for the media to come together and begin to look at the elections, define an agenda for the election, and define an agenda for the post-election period, so that in countries like even Sweden, that passed through a similar period, embrace the concept of peace journalism, because I was in Sweden in 2005, so I understand what I'm talking about. And people like Professor Rone Ottoson, Roland Stanbridge, some of the great writers and journalists, people who write from the Metro, they all came together and used the tool, what you call peace and development journalism. So instead of saying, for instance, I'll just give you a practical example. If you say 20 people killed, 50 people died, there are better appropriate terminology to describe such words. I agree, the media, you have to sell. We are in a very competitive and commercial situation, society, but you have to sell. But the larger interest of national and international interest is of greater priority to us as citizens, as people of one world.
Okay, well, let's move on and look at this election in slightly more detail. Do you think that Muhammadu Buhari's past as a general will appeal to the voters, especially now with Boko Haram and insurgency? And you may say that the PDP party is doing everything that it can to stop that. But surely he looks like a very powerful and a good ruler to try and quash that.
No, I thank you for that question. But my role as a journalist is to look at issues very objectively and dispassionately. And then, but it depends on the perspective, the way you're asking me. If I'm going to answer that question as a journalist, or you're asking me that question maybe as former commissioner for information, or as somebody in the public sector, a practitioner, but to be very specific as a journalist, I think that the voters, people who are going to vote, some of them have already made up their mind. Those who are undecided, you just have a couple of days to make up their mind. So I do not really think that much will change between now and the election period.
Well, it's obviously a very important time for Nigeria, given the economy and the Naira and also the insurgency. How significant do you think this election is coming up?
No, the election is very, very significant. That is why you see, even before the elections, people like Kofi Annan, Secretary General Kofi Annan, and former Commonwealth Secretary General Chifemeka Anyoku, they came together and put a peace accord for the various actors, the key presidential aspirants, and to sign a peace deal so that the elections could go on very smoothly. So I think it's a major milestone in Nigeria, and it will help to deepen the democratic process, because the country in the past has gone through a very tumultuous period in military rule. because the military destroyed most of the fabric institutions in the country. Democratic rule was destroyed. Major institutions, even the media suffered. I, as a journalist practicing journalism then, went through a lot of hell. So I think the election is very significant because it will help to deepen democratic institutions and institutionalize democracy as the current form of government of the world all over.
Oma Djeba, we could go on forever talking about all the issues, but thank you very much indeed for taking the time to come in today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.